What's going on, motherfuckers? Throwing together an update video for the weekend, weekly recap. I was not active this weekend, not as active as usual on YouTube. I had a lot of shit going on, but tracking everything and everything. And when I say everything, I mean literally fucking everything looks amazing. Everything is synchronized across the entire market. Macro breaks, gap ups, left and right. Everything is ready to run and is going to do so very similarly to January of 2021, just with a lot more volatility, a lot more volume to the upside, reverse market crash style squeezes across the board, or maybe not squeezes is the right word, but bull cycles of macros for memes will be squeezes, but nonetheless, let's just get into the video. And before I do that, I want to give a really quick shout out to the Discord, Trading with Triangles, an amazing community that we have over there. I want to just shout out Mayhem, Sin, Goon, Babs. The shit that we're doing over there is pretty insane. In the lab every single night till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, prepping for the next day. The opportunity in the market right now is absolutely phenomenal. It's crazy what's going on. It's crazy the opportunity in the market and the amount of money that can be made. Aside from tunnel visioning on AMC, which in the long run will pay off, but for now there's shit that's actually moving, and we know where it's going, so we can get paid on it. Myself, I had a 5-figure week this week. Love that, and I'm looking to do the same next week. Everything's ripping, everything's gapping up. There's big moves across the board, and they can be capitalized on. And that's it. That's really it for the intro. I want to get into the video now. So first of all, let's start with the indices as we always do. Now, Dow Jones did not form a new all-time high this week, but pretty much just consolidating sideways here. It came pretty close. Double topped it here. Honestly, I'm thinking this is going to gap up on Monday. This looks really good. Again, that next level is 39,100. We have not reached it yet, but we will be very soon. Dow Jones is going to continue climbing upwards. New all-time highs on the way. Really nothing else to say here. NASDAQ, new all-time highs this week, climbing all week. Here is your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just climbing, uptrending, new all-time highs pretty much every single day on NASDAQ. The next resistance level is 18,300. Above that is 1900. This looks great. Indices across the board look amazing. So that's NASDAQ. S&P 500, new all-time highs this week as well, climbing all week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just uptrending, new all-time highs every single day. And today, hitting $500. Closing the day 501.20 on SPY. This shit looks fucking amazing, and it's not even close to being done. The next two levels we have overhead are 507 and 518, and I'm thinking next week is going to be a very, very green week across the board, meme stocks included, but indices I'm thinking are going to be vertical next week. I would not even be shocked if SPY got up to this resistance level at 518 next week. It looks amazing. Nothing really else to say here. Moving on from that, Russell 1000, new all-time highs this week. Here's your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, climbing, uptrending, new all-time highs every single day. The next resistance level is 281. More than likely we'll be seeing that next week. And lastly, IWM finally broke its macro pattern today. Friday, closed above macro resistance, 199.11. Trading in this channel for roughly 2 years, playing ping pong up and down, 162 to 199, just bouncing up and down. Coming off the spring, finally formed a higher high. Again, these are all lower highs here, lower high, all the way down into the spring. Finally formed a new higher high here, and pulled back for the retracement and curled back up and finally closed above 199 resistance. This looks fucking amazing. Now, we did close over 199 resistance. This is a macro breakout, but it is not the macro break. The actual break, the fractal break on IWM, is going to be a gap up. As soon as you see that, and it's very possible that we see that on Monday. This is what we're looking for, is just verticality to the upside, to new all-time highs, past 240, probably taking us somewhere into the 300, 350 range. And the great part about this and how synchronized the market is yes, all the indices, Dow, NASDAQ, SPY, they're all at all-time highs now. They just formed all-time highs this past month. SPY has room to run to the upside here, and it's not going to be topping out until IWM gets to all-time highs, in my opinion. So there is plenty of room to the upside on SPY, and especially IWM, plenty of room to the upside to play here. And we're looking for, a lot more volatility and verticality here now that we just broke out of the macro. If we did see a gap up on Monday, that is the signal that this thing is going to start flying. On top of that, I mentioned multiple times that IWM and the meme stocks macro break would be simultaneous. And I'll get into that in a little bit because it looks fucking amazing. The synchronization is actually unreal in the market. But everything looks good. Everything is bullish. Now, really quickly, I want to backtrack to SPY, and I want to go over something. So, yes, we're at all-time highs now. Yes, there's not really resistance. There's not really levels up here. We're just finding them as we go. We have our GANs levels, 507 and 518 are the next resistance on SPY, but I want to get into the tracking that actually brought us here. This is a chart. Bab's been using this chart for a very long time, essentially since I met him. And, we really kicked it off when we met because our TA is pretty much coming from the same standpoint where the market is fractal and these patterns are repeating themselves across the market, which includes crypto and Forex, whatever. It includes everything. Everything is fractal. But this is the tracking that we're following right now. And it's right here. So what we're looking at is this iteration right here, which essentially is the same thing as the macro, which took us to all-time highs. Now, this would be the theoretical all-time high point that we're seeing right here. You cross all-time highs, and then you get this movement up until this white box here, and then past this is the macro break on SPY. Now, that is where we are. I'm going to zoom in now, just looking at this versus this on the micro, because this is tracked very nicely. Just printing on SPY calls every single day. This looks amazing. Here's the uptrend that takes you to all-time highs. This yellow line here would be the theoretical all-time highs versus the actual, the current situation on SPY, climbing to that all-time high level. You finally break and form new all-time highs. You find your first stop, reject there, come down for the retest. We didn't quite make it for the retest here, but still the same. Bounce up, double top, bounce up, double top the move, pull back higher low, pull back higher low, leg up again to the next range, leg up again to the next range. Form this cup. It takes you to new highs again. Little flag here that you see here, and then into the boom candles here, the macro break. There is more upside on SPY. SPY is going to be green next week. All the indices are going to be green next week. Market-wide is probably going to be just a sea of green next week, including meme stocks. Now, along with that and the macro break that we're coming up on SPY, here is a rising wedge, which theoretically would be a bearish pattern if the market was even remotely close to bearish right now, which it's not. And you can find this pattern on SPY all throughout the chart, on the micro, macro, whatever. Not always, but usually it breaks to the upside. And this is from the 409 move, which that's some trauma there for not playing that. But this is from the 409 move, just in this rising wedge here. And finally, we broke out of it. And with the tracking that I just showed you, we're coming up on our macro break on SPY, and it is coinciding with the breakout of this rising wedge. Again, this is a bearish pattern. This is not going to be breaking to the downside here. It's going to go vertical. It's going to be the opposite. Looks great. No complaints there. Along with that, here is another method of tracking that has brought us to where we are, and this is the macro on SPX from inception. So 1871 to present, before algorithmic trading back here. Really quickly, I'll go through it again. Just broken down very simply, every blue box is the correction period. So the financial panic 1873 would be your theoretical correction period. You break this to the upside, get this wave move in the green, and then into your megaphone, where you have 3 touches on the bottom, 3 touches on your top, breakout, retest, bull run to all-time highs. And then from there into a correction, the Great Depression, Great Crash, pullback, the correction period in the blue, break over the range, wave in the green, into the megaphone, 3 touches on the top, 3 touches on the bottom, breakout, retest, bull run to all-time highs, correction period, 2008 financial crisis, aka the Big Short, break this range to the upside, wave in the green, megaphone, 3 touches on the top, 3 touches on the top, 3 touches on the bottom, breakout, retest, and the bull run to all-time highs is where we are now. Now, showing this like this, there is plenty of room to run to the upside, just like we saw right before the Great Depression here, and prior to the 2008 financial crisis. Plenty of room to the upside. I'm thinking it's going to be relatively vertical, volatile, big moves once we do get our macro break. And on the other side of that is going to be a crash, probably worse than we've ever seen, probably worse than the Great Depression. But that's not for some time. For now, the market is very bullish. It's melting up, reverse market crash style. And that's it. Price targets range up here, in my opinion, from 550 to 800 on the more extreme side for SPY, and for SPX that would be roughly 8,000-ish, which is extreme, but just judging from the macro, there is room here to run to the upside, and I would not be surprised to see that. On the absolute, the conservative, I would say 55 to 6,000, SPY 550, 600-ish. Is very reasonable and probably the most likely case. So this looks good. We're in a fucking bull market, confirmed as of today. Actually, no, this was confirmed a while ago at the beginning of 2023. But moving on from that, back to IWM, just backtracking back and forth. We finally broke the macro pattern, parallel channel here to the upside, closed above 199.11. Really quickly, I want to take a look at the side-by-side fractal from 2021. Which did track nicely. It just took forever to fucking break out, forever to play this pattern out. But again, the jet test up to the top, this white line on both sides is the same price, 199.11. That is your macro breakout. The pullback, the spring, the pullback, the spring, and then back up to the middle of the range, and then finally broke out of the macro. Again, we're looking for a gap up here and verticality, which very possibly we might be seeing on Monday. Regardless, upside, IWM next week. All right, that's indices. Everything is fucking bullish. Everything looks great. Synced up across the board. Really quickly now, I want to get into AMC. It's same shit, different day for AMC. Although, this looks very fucking bullish right now. I cannot lie. So, back to the macro perspective from IPO. Bull cycle, bear cycle, bull cycle, bear cycle. Everything's marked off. I'm not going to bother going through the macro here. And the bear cycle essentially taking you down to the floor right above zero before resetting back into a bull cycle, which again for the meme stocks is vertical lines, which is what we're looking for. Now, when you break the macro down to the most simplest terms of what it is, the bear cycle of both cycles leading to January 2021 and currently is a descending wedge, just playing ping pong up and down. Right at the end, you break below it, reclaim it, and then you finally break out. And when you do, verticality, straight line squeeze. Versus currently, and this would be our macro halt line, macro resistance, just playing ping pong here, bouncing up and down in resistance, actually broke right below support, just like you see right here. Reclaim, and we actually broke out. This week's weekly candle green, finally a trend reversal here on pretty nice volume as well. And I just have the years marked off here to indicate how shitty this macro actually is. Spends most of its time red, and then the bull cycle is just a year, just straight up, and then red, and then here we are today. Along with that, the volume profile on this looks absolutely phenomenal. Very low volume throughout the macro, picks up at the end into the squeeze, all-time high volume, and then again, descending volume throughout the macro to all-time low, picking up at the end of the macro again. Looking for a surge in volume here, as the accumulation is finishing up, coming off of our spring. This looks fucking amazing. I'm going to zoom into this now. So here's the wedge, all your touch points, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the break below, reclaim, and the breakout this week on very nice volume. This looks great, and obviously zero is right underneath us. I'm just showing the wedge again. This is a breakout. I'm expecting upside for AMC. I'm expecting the bottom is in on AMC. This looks fucking amazing. What are we doing next? The downtrend. And this is a chart that I've shown multiple times, removing all the noise, just showing strictly the bear cycles. And again, just take a look at the years. Red, 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 green, straight line. Red, red, and then here we are. And again, the macros, the iterations of the macros are speeding up as more volume is being injected into the market over time. And we can thank the Fed for that and all of the money printing that they decided to do in 2021 around COVID. Which is why the market is crashing in reverse to the upside. When everyone thinks the market is bearish and going to be crashing, it's crashing in reverse to the upside. And we could thank the Fed for that. So here is the macro once again on AMC. Your macro break into the downtrend here, and then into the wedge. First touch, second touch, break below, third touch, and then all the way to the end. You finally break out. Macro break gap up to the 200 EMA. Spend a day there, and then you just wake up to the top. And then currently, macro break into the downtrend, into the wedge. 1, 2, 3, break below, and then we're on 4 now. I'm thinking this is going to play out the same way as we saw in January 2021. When we do get our fractal break here, this is more than likely going to gap up to the 200 EMA. Spend maybe a day or two there consolidating, and then just, again, straight line, just wake up to whatever the top is. Still to be determined if we're going to get a two-part squeeze like we did previously, the January-June squeezes. It's very possible we get the same thing, and it's very possible we just get a one-part squeeze straight to the top. Again, nothing about price targets has changed. If we did get a two-part squeeze, in my opinion, I don't have a chart, but the fibs, the 1618 fib is $650. So it more than likely, I'll just go to the macro so I can really quick give a demonstration of what this would look like. If it was to be a two-part squeeze, in my opinion, what would happen is squeeze to 650, 1618 fib, pull back to test on top of the all-time highs, the previous. That could vary from 400 to 250-ish. Consolidate there, this consolidation period, into the quote-unquote June run, which would be the 1400 move to the 3618 fib. Or we just get a straight line to whatever the top's going to be. And I'm not going to sit here and say that 100K is even reasonable, because it's not. Fibs exist, and, you know, that's where AMC topped out in the last squeezes. It was the 3618 fib both times. Fibs exist, and they matter. So 100K is nonsense. Anybody pushing that, anybody giving shit about my price targets are ridiculous to begin with, but they are fib-based. They make sense from a technical standpoint. Anyone saying 100K, ridiculous. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't get caught holding the bag, holding for 100K. That's absurd. This stock is low enough now to where you can be positioned to make a ridiculous amount of money at $20, at $40, 200, 400. If we retest all-time highs, and if we squeeze, that's fuck you money. But the point that I'm getting at here is this thing is on serious fucking discount right now, and you can position yourself here to make ridiculous gains, not even in squeeze territory. So that is the downtrend. Again, the crosses of the 200 EMA are the same in both cycles, the previous leading up to 2021 and the current. I am expecting to meet the 200 EMA. It makes sense from a technical standpoint to at least consolidate there when we get there. It's roughly at $20 right now. Looks great. All right, so the downtrend on the daily. This was the chart that I kept showing, the daily downtrend of fucking hell that we've been in since December 13th, 2023. Actually, it was August. I had this chart. This was from December 13th, 2023. But this trend line here, this resistance, is what we've been fighting this entire time since August 31st. And here it is updated to present day. Here's your rejection, the breakout, retest failed, brought us back into it. Again, rejection, breakout, retest failed, brought us back into it, and then just rejecting all the way down here, and finally broke out. So this looks amazing. Green on the week for AMC. Have not seen that in a while. That looks good. And this is one other thing that I want to show. There's a lot of shit going on here, but I want to just talk about this because we're at a critical breaking point for AMC. And I'm going to go over what all of these lines are really quick. So first of all, this green line, descending line here, is the macro resistance from IPO. And I've shown this before. I'm not going to bother showing the full macro of it again. But this is where we found a bounce. And I mentioned in one of my videos a while ago that it was possible we come down to macro support for AMC, which would be roughly 350, 360. And that's where we bottomed, finding a bounce on macro support. Now, the white is the macro descending wedge. We have now broken out of that. On top of that, the yellow is the daily wedge that I just showed you that we've been fighting since August, and we broke out of that. So we bounced off macro support and broke both resistances, the macro wedge and the micro wedge that we've been in since August. We're looking for a fractal break here, and more than likely, this fractal break is going to be our squeeze. And then again, zero is right underneath us. The only two options here are squeeze and zero, and we're not going to zero. And again, nothing I ever say is financial advice. So that's that. And that's pretty much it for AMC. So we covered the indices, which are fucking bull season, all at all-time highs, besides IWM, which finally broke its macro today. Looking for volatility to the upside there, verticality, starting next week, and more than likely our macro break on Monday, the gap up we're looking for. Probably go without saying that Dow would gap up, NASDAQ gap up, SPY gap up, everything would gap up. Macro breaks as well, and I covered SPY and the positioning where we are and with the rising wedge. So we're looking for macro breaks on the indices next week. We're looking for a macro break on AMC next week. And on top of that, here's Bitcoin. And there are a few lines of thought here. In my opinion, this is going to be seeing all-time highs sooner than later. And I wouldn't be deceived by the price here. Once this thing cracks 50,000, it's seeing all-time highs fast. So this is Bitcoin, which also peaked in 2021 with everything else when the market was bullish, running to the upside, when the meme stocks were squeezing, when indices were at all-time highs, pulled back with everything, and is in its bull cycle again and at macro resistance, 50,000. So green for Bitcoin this week. Miners fucking on a tear. Everything gapped up. Made a killing on miners this week. These white lines are the halvings on Bitcoin, which from IPO, you do see sell-offs right around these halving points. It's possible that's a coincidence. It's possible that it's not. I'm leaning it's coincidence because I see a breakout here and all-time highs very soon for Bitcoin. On the micro level, here it is. So here we are. This resistance level here at 47.48 is crucial. We break this, we're going to see 53 very fast, and then probably shred through that as it's not too major a resistance point. And then after that, it's 58. And then after that, this is all-time highs. And I'm thinking this is going to just shred right through. Just have to get the breakout here. Confirmed breakout here on Bitcoin would be insane because this thing is going to start really moving to the upside, which again looks great. Halving is in April. Keep that in mind. Now into GameStop. Here is GameStop's macro from IPO. Again, starting, beginning, ending with the all-time low landmark or the spring into your bull cycle. The V-shape, your 1-2 peaks, and then curling into the downtrend all the way back to your all-time low landmark. Confirm that. Jet test, higher low confirms, and then into the bull cycle again. And this time was a squeeze, and the next one that we're looking for also will be a squeeze. And then again, here's your 1-2 peaks. The V-shape was instant, and then curling to the downside to your V, your all-time low landmark. Jet test up, and a higher low now. So essentially, where Bitcoin would be on its macro is right here, right off the all-time low landmark. Jet test, pull back, higher low. Jet test, pull back, higher low. This is what we're looking for next on GameStop, and more than likely, this is going to play out faster than it did previously. On top of that, the bounce here where not Bitcoin, GameStop bottomed here in the current macro cycle, right on top of the previous macro. This looks fucking insane. This looks really good. So that is the macro on GameStop. Now, really quickly, the downtrend. I covered this in my last video. It's really dummied down, simplified version of GameStop's repeating fractal in the downtrend and how we got to where we are. So again, it's a W, jet test up to resistance. You get your 1-2 peaks and then break down there, back to support, chop, and then it breaks down from there. Fractal break to the downside, back down to support. W, jet test, back up to the top, your 1-2 peaks, down to support. Chops here, fractal break to the downside again, new low. W, jet test up to the top, your 1-2 peaks, come down to support, chop here, fractal breaks to the downside, new low. W, jet test, 1-2 peaks, down to support. Now, it did break support to the downside, but then reclaimed it and found a new high here. So this is a confirmed fractal in an uptrend for GameStop. And like I was just showing with the macro, once you see that, you get your jet test off of the low and form a higher low. That higher low off the jet test is confirmation of fractal in an uptrend. And all it takes is one iteration of that before the bull cycle for GameStop. And same for AMC, which again are vertical line squeezes. So this looks fucking amazing. GameStop's going to the moon. AMC is going to the moon. Whole market's going to the fucking moon, to be honest. Really quickly, Estee Lauder. I covered this in my last video. Really quickly, I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to go crazy through it, but I threw the macro together. And this is a weekly perspective. And this is where I called it out at 135, coming off of its all-time low landmark or its spring. Now, updated. I'm not going to show this every video, but I'll update it here and there, just weekly perspectives. So called it out at 135 and then went into earnings, gapped up to 160, 161, pulled back for the retracement, and I'm looking for continuation to the upside here. That was a big move if anyone played that. That shit paid. And then on the micro, here it is, the spring all-time low landmark equivalent for Estee Lauder. Jet test up, pull back, higher low confirms. This is fractal in an uptrend. Same thing I just showed with GameStop. This is the entire market right now. A lot of it is coming off of all-time low landmark equivalents in its iteration of jet test and looking for the confirmation of a higher low. So Estee Lauder just did that. Earnings gapped up to 161, pulled back for the retracement. It's curling back up, looking for upside going forward for Estee Lauder, and there is plenty of room to run to the upside here. Looking for new all-time highs, 450 plus, sitting at 145 right now. Leaps on this are going to print. Again, nothing I say is financial advice. So that's it. We're squeezing. The entire market is synced up. All the indices are all at all-time highs, besides IWM, Russell 2000. But it did break its macro today. Looking for a fractal break next week. Gap up past $200. More than likely, we're going to be seeing it on Monday. Along with that, SPY is going to probably be gapping up on Monday. Dow, NASDAQ, all the indices looking for big upside next week. And on top of that, meme stocks, AMC and GameStop look like they've bottomed in their iteration of uptrend. Their jet test pulling back now, forming higher lows. Broke every single resistance on AMC, bounced off macro support. Bitcoin looks ready to run. That's it. Everything looks fucking ready to run. Market's in a wild spot right now. Need to capitalize on this cycle in the market because possible, and just theory here. It's possible that this pullback from the MOAS on the market is going to be a very, very shitty downtrend and a very bad time for the world. Not just market-wise, just the world in general. That's a fractal break in the market, which will be accompanied by a fractal break in the world. Some kind of massive event, something like this. Great Depression or Great Crash. But for now, bull season. So that's it. That's it for the video. Looking for upside on everything next week. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be live on Monday. So with that being said, that's it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.